Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So I know I am a little bit behind. I understand, we're already moving forward, but I am going to go ahead and get this tier list sent out. I do apologize. I have been sick over the past few days. This is part of the reason why I'm behind on everything, but I did want to go ahead and get this done tonight while I had the time. So I am going to do this based off of kind of my own biased opinion. Also is going to go mostly off of IO for a lot of these specs, especially since there's only a handful that I actually play. The tanks themselves, that's going to be a lot of me, mostly because I have been playing all of the tanks lately. I have been doing a lot of practice, learning and figuring out, getting mains ready for next season, all kinds of different things, right? But as far as healers and DPS go, it's going to be a lot of my own opinion, and it's going to be a lot of just what I see from the majority of the player base. Now, go ahead and make my little public disclaimer here. Left to right does not mean anything just because Blood Death Knight is here and Vengeance Demon Hunter is right here does not mean the Blood is better than Vengeance, all right? Not doing that by any stretch of the imagination, okay? Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right. So first up, I was going to start with Blood DK. That has been my main for all of season two. It's been a blast of a season. I definitely see the issues with Blood. I definitely see where they need to really go into the spec and kind of fix it. There's a lot of dead talent points. There's a lot of useless capstones. There's a lot of things in the spec tree that just don't really help us. Um, there's a lot of like stuff towards the bottom of the spec tree surrounded by talents you just don't take, and it feels like you're wasting talent points to get what you need. Um, Overall playstyle is really, really good. I really enjoy it. You have defensive, you have survivability, you have capability to handle a lot. So with that being said, I am actually going to put Blood DK into the A tier. All right. So I think overall, I think it's a really good tank. I just think it needs a lot of work. But I think you could be pushing top keys, highest of keys with a Blood DK. I think the biggest thing that we lack is mobility. I think if you get the mobility, you would see a lot more representation of Blood Death Knights. Okay. So next up is Brewmaster Monk. So we're actually seeing a rise of Brewmaster. Their averaging IO is around 3,500. Um, Currently, if I can get back to here, we are actually seeing Brewmasters clearing 19s and 20s pretty consistently across the board. They're in 18s. It looks like all except for two of the top 10 are clearing the 18s and above. Um, which is crazy to think because Brewmaster statistically has not been doing very well this season, but they are. So I'm going to put them up there in the A tier. I think the biggest issue that Brewmaster has is the same thing that they've had for a while. They're a very squishy tank, and their talent points don't really mesh. I still think that they need some work with their talents. So, Vengeance Demon Hunter. I've actually been playing a lot of Vengeance here lately. I will say, as far as personal opinions go, I really don't like the way Eldrazi Reaver plays. I don't like the identity that they're trying to give Vengeance. I think overall it's just bad. Um, but if I look at the survivability, the sustainability, the defensives, the amount of damage they can take, it is definitely an S tier tank. There's no doubt if I take my personal biases out of the question, then that makes Vengeance Demon Hunter an S tier very, very easily. Next up is going to be Guardian Druid. I almost said Feral. Here we go. All right, so Guardian. Honestly, I think Guardian is doing really, really well right now. I think it does still suffer from the four spec tree, or the four class talent tree, uh, or four spec talent tree. I'll get there eventually. But I think overall it's doing really, really well. Really good healing. I've noticed it's very tanky. It's doing much better than what I dealt with last season. So, also going to put it up in the A tier. Okay. Next up is going to be Prot Paladin. So, we're actually seeing a fall of Protection Paladin, which I think is insane. It's really not that popular anymore. If we look at Raider IO, uh, really capping out at the 18s is really where it's going. All in all, Prod is doing okay. But it does seem, excuse me, it does seem to be performing worst out of all the tanks. So we are going to go ahead and put it in a B tier position. All right. Next and finally is going to be Protection Warrior. So I have been playing a pretty decent amount of Protection Warrior. I kind of had some struggle keys going on stream a few days ago. I'm not sure if anybody saw that, but one thing I will say is Prot Warrior, the biggest issue that I notice with it is trying to build rage for your defensives and to keep up your ignore pain and then trying to balance your ignore pain stacks with your other defensives. Also trying to balance the fact that you can't take a lot of hits without your defensives and you have to be proactive, but you can't because you have to be proactive with your attacks and reactive with your defensives, but you can't be reactive with defensives because you're getting hit way too hard. I think that Protection Paladin is just really struggling as a whole right now. Or I'm sorry, Protection Warrior is struggling as a whole right now. But it is clearing keys. It is up there. It is considered the second best tank in the game right now. But overall, I am just gonna go ahead and throw it an A tier, um, and just call it a day. All right. So next up, we have our healers. So first, we have Discipline Priest. I think, to no surprise of anyone, we're gonna go ahead and throw Discipline Priest in the S tier. Discipline, even with the nerfs it has gotten, even with what we're seeing of the class changes and everything, it is a phenomenal healer. The throughput is there. There are certain instances where it's maybe not the best healer to have, but overall, it is doing very, very well right now. Okay. Next up, Holy Paladin. I'm actually gonna throw Holy Paladin into the C tier. I'm not sure if it's just because of like healers that I've run into. I'm not sure if it's just like the class itself, but like Holy is just not doing really well. Um, as a spec, I've noticed a lot of Holy Paladins really struggle to keep people alive, especially keeping tanks alive through like heavy tank busters where we need our healer on top of our defensives. Like it's just very, very difficult, and like they seem to be struggling a lot. I've seen one or two really, really good ones. I know Elismir is a really good Holy Paladin, but just in general, Holy just doesn't seem to be doing very well right now. Holy Priest, on the other hand, is a B tier healer. Um, I think that Holy is absolutely phenomenal in the lower end of keys. Really, probably that 2 to 12 range is really where they are shining, and they are just, I mean, they're just killing it. I think once you get in the higher keys, I think damage just happens a little bit too fast for them. But I have noticed they do kind of struggle a little bit with the group healing as opposed to single target healing. Um, as long as people are doing the right thing, they seem to be doing okay. But if they have to compensate for people making mistakes and stuff like that, that is where really where they're tending to start struggling. Next up is Mistweaver. So I have actually been playing with a couple of Mistweavers. They seem to be doing pretty well as a healer right now. I think overall, probably I'd say a low A tier, maybe like an A minus. They're just, I mean, they're situationally good, but there are definitely situations where they are struggling. I think their redeeming quality is their healing, or I'm sorry, their damage, and the fact that they do a good amount of damage. But overall, they're just kind of struggling. Preservation, man, I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's a D tier. Like they're just the comp requirements that they need, the situation requirements they need, the time they need to build up. It is just not. It's really not great. All right. Resto Druid, I am gonna put in the C tier with Holy Paladin. So I know that there are a lot of really good Resto Druids out there. I understand that a lot of people are doing really, really well, but I think the problem with Resto is they're not doing very well across the board. Um, they're not a very forgiving healer, and there's not a lot of people who are playing them correctly enough to where they can actually be perfect every single time. All right. Resto Shaman, on the other hand, is gonna be in the S tier. This healer is absolutely amazing. It doesn't matter what tank I play. If there's a Resto Shaman, I will take them. I had a 642 Resto Shaman heal me through a 9 the other day, and we had 0 deaths. Like, it was absolutely insane, like, what we are getting from Shamans right now. I think it is just a phenomenal healer that is killing it. Okay. So, next up is gonna be Arcane Mage. Not to anybody's surprise, but it's going in the S tier. Arcane is really, really doing well at every key level. Um, I think the biggest thing that they're suffering from right now is the complexity of playing it correctly. But even when people are not playing them correctly, like they are still pumping out really good numbers and they're still doing very, very well. Okay. Next up is going to be Affliction Warlock. So Affliction is really kind of struggling right now. Um, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Affliction just really needs a rework. Their talent builds their talents need to get fixed. Cooldowns need to get fixed. Their AOE dotting and lining up and everything. It's really just it is a mess of a spec right now, and unfortunately, they're really not doing that well. Balanced Druid. So, okay, Balanced Druid is really good, and I'm gonna put it in the B tier for 2 reasons. Okay, one, Balance is struggling in low keys because nothing stays alive long enough for them to ramp their damage. But they are doing really good damage. So it's really hard to rank them because if I look at like the 2 to 10 or really really like the 2 to 7 range, they're putting up numbers but they're not the best. But then I look at like the 7 to 12 range and they're really kicking ass and they're killing it. All right. So I think they're situational. I put them in B tier primarily so that I can really just kind of show the difference of these lower key balance druids to these higher key balance druids. There is a very big difference, and I would almost say like a 2 to 10 range is where balance is going to struggle. But then once you get past that 10, that's where balance is going to shine. Okay, so it's not a bad spec, still very, very playable, but it is kind of struggling. Beast Mastery Hunter is also going to go in the B tier. I think they're doing okay. They're making it work, but I think that they're just lacking in damage and they're being outshined by a lot of different specs. Demonology, on the other hand, is going to go into A tier. Um, so so Demonology is putting up really good numbers at every key range. They bring a very good amount of utility to the group when played properly. Um, and overall, like it's a very good class to have. All right. Destruction, I'm also going to put up here. As long as the tank you are pulling correctly for a destruction warlock's damage, and as long as you're tracking their cooldowns and you're watching when they have what going on, you can really see a destruction warlock pump out. All right. Like I would almost argue that they're an S tier spec, with the exception of the tank has to pull correctly for them to shine. If the tank doesn't pull correctly, then they're not going to be doing the best. And that's when you're going to see demonology shine, is when the tanks are not pulling around what they need. They can still do really well with pretty much any pull range. Okay. Next up is Devastation of Voker. I think Devastation's an A tier. They seem to be putting up pretty good numbers. They do seem to be falling off at the higher end. So they're actually, yeah. Let me drop them in the B tier because they're gonna have like the reverse balance druid, right? They're doing really well at like these 2 to 12 range, but like they're kind of struggling past that and they're not putting up the best numbers. We did see Devastation of Oker get played in the MDI, which that was incredible to watch. And it really did do very, very well. So it is playable at these higher keys, but it's not necessarily the best choice to bring. Just kind of like with the balance druid at the lower keys, it's good to bring, but it's not the best option. I think that devastation is just the reverse of a balance druid, so I would put them both in a B tier just based off of that. Elemental shaman is going in the S tier. I mean, the AoE that you're getting, the single target you get it, the um the utility of a shaman, like it is phenomenal the way that it works and the way that the spec plays. It is just beautiful to watch. Fire Mage and Frost Mage are both going to go in the A tier for the exact same reasons. Inside of their cooldowns, Fire and Frost are blowing people out of the water. My Frost Mage has been going insane on the DPS charts inside my cooldowns. Outside your cooldowns and outside your procs, it's not that great. You're doing okay DPS, but it's not that great. So I think that earns them an A tier just because they are really, really doing very well in every situation, just not quite as well as they could be if they were a little bit more powerful outside of their cooldowns. Next up is going to be marksmanship, straight in the S tier. The way True Shot interacts, the way that like the spec plays, like just the numbers that they're putting up in the high keys, the low keys, like it is insane what they're able to do, especially inside of their cooldowns, outside of their cooldown. Like it is just doing phenomenal right now. Shadow Priest, C tier. I'm sorry. Shadow right now is really struggling. From what I'm understanding is like their tier set isn't super great for them. Their spec tree it really needs a rework. The class tree could probably use a rework. It's just not. It's not really a good time to be a shadow priest, and the way that they're having to play everything, and it's kind of a struggle. Really is where they're at right now, and they just kind of need some help. Okay, augmentation is no longer a D tier spec. Shocker. However, it is still pretty low. It is going to go in the C tier as well. It's doing okay. Uh, but it's not great. And it's really like you're seeing a little bit of a rise just because of the damage boost that they're giving, plus the little bit of a DPS boost that they give. This is doing okay, but it's not super great. Okay. Next up is gonna be Arms Warrior. Arms Warrior is absolutely insane. Definitely an S tier spec. I don't care what anybody says. That is the best warrior spec in the game right now. Just amazing. I ran a couple of low keys as an arms warrior and just blew the DPS meters away, single target and in AoE and single target, and I'm not even geared correctly, which is insane. So I know the Arms Warrior is doing amazing in these lower end keys. And then you turn around and you see what they can do in the higher keys, running with them, seeing the timed runs that you're getting from Arms Warrior. It is just amazing. It is an amazing time to be an Arms Warrior right now. Next up is going to be Assassination Rogue. Assassination, also going to go in the A tier. So I was going to put it in the S tier, just because of Rogue utility, the damage, the silences, the amazingness, right? But unfortunately, they are falling short. They're not quite putting out the same numbers as some of these S tier specs. Okay. I think that Assassination is a phenomenal spec. I think it's a lot of fun to play. I think that you can push really good numbers, but I think that they just need a DPS boost if they are going to move up a tier. Enhancement. I don't think it's any question. S tier. Same reason as Elemental. Really, what we're seeing is they are just going through and just absolutely destroying the meters, bringing Shaman utility, doing just shamany things. They're doing phenomenal right now, and I don't think that you're going to find a better class in the game than Shaman right now. Whether you want to range DPS, melee DPS, or heal, it really is the whole package. It is it's just amazing to watch shamans go crazy. All right. Feral Druid. Okay. So I've seen some Feral Druids out there. They're pumping. at every key level. And I've seen some feral druids out there that are not pumping. I think really the biggest thing that feral is struggling with right now is, are they a bite spec or are they a bleed spec? They're not doing very well as both. And I think that is really the issue. I think they're having an identity crisis. And I think because of that identity crisis, they're going to be a B tier spec. I think with a little bit more identity, feral could definitely move up. I've tested feral a couple times, done a couple of keys as a feral druid, and I mean, I had some good numbers and I had some shit numbers. Like it was just kind of rough. Okay. Frost DKA. Sorry, guys. C tier. They're doing good damage. They bring a little bit of utility, but as a whole, they're just not putting up the numbers to keep up with everybody else. And I think that the fact that they're kind of falling off at the higher end contents is a problem. I think the fact that they are falling off in these bigger pulls is a problem. I think if you have priority damage, I think if you have like one or two specific dungeons, they are going to do okay. But I think there's a lot better options. And I think that you would definitely want to take one of these other classes up here over a Frost Death Knight for the majority of the dungeons. Okay. Fury Warrior is going to be a B tier. Fury's doing pretty good right now. I think the biggest problem is Fury is not putting up the numbers that they should be. So I think that if they were putting up a little bit better numbers, they'd be okay. Havoc. Havoc is in the A tier. Havoc is doing phenomenal right now. I think that they are really just pushing out good numbers, but I think they're being outshined by Vengeance, and I think that is the only issue that we're seeing. Okay. Next up, we have Outlaw Rogue. Okay. Or Combat. No, it's Outlaw. Okay. Outlaw is kind of a B tier. They're situationally good. Some circumstances, they're good. When they're played right, they're good, but they're not the best. Okay. I think that the biggest issue that Outlaw is facing right now is the fact that it is a very difficult spec to play. Rogue is already difficult to play, and I think the fact that you have a difficult spec within a difficult class does not do good things for you. Okay. Next up is Ret Paladin. Also going to be in the A tier. Putting out really good numbers, bringing in really good utility. They're doing phenomenal as a whole. I think that if you really look at Ret, you're going to see kind of where it falls off at the higher end keys, but also still is able to keep up at the higher end keys. Okay, so it's kind of like very easy to play all the way up until around like that 13-14 range. Once you hit that 13-14 range, that's when it gets complicated. But again, Ret is very good, especially in keys probably below like a 12 and under. I think you're gonna be solid. Sub rogues also gonna go in the B tier. I think sub is just kind of like having a cooldown crisis, and so because of their cooldown crisis, they're not doing very well in the damage meters, and they're not keeping up with the other specs. But they are doing okay. They are bringing a lot to the group, and I think that that in and of itself is gonna keep them in the B tier. Survival Hunter is also going to go in the C tier. They're still it's the same issues as before. They're really struggling with damage and cooldowns, and their talent tree is like take all your single target, take all your AOE, take all of this, and there's not a class balance in the spec tree. Okay. Unholy DK, to nobody's surprise, is going to be an S tier. They are doing phenomenal in every key level. They are pushing out insane numbers no matter what. Okay. So, last but not least is going to be Windwalker Monk. Windwalker is actually doing pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the the A tier here. I think that overall Windwalker is really they're doing very well at every key level, and just having that monk utility, I think, is amazing. I think they are going to get a little bit outshined by Brew and Mist, both, but overall, still doing phenomenal. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts and opinions at the bottom. If you like the video, leave a like, give me a subscribe, leave a say hello in the comments. I don't know, do what you want. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. Just a reminder, the left to right does not mean anything. But yeah, catch you guys in the next one.